So welcome back, friends, to part 2 of the top 50 tools that every man should have. Today we're going to be covering number 11 through 20. This will be part 2 of a 5-part series, and man, I'm excited. A lot of good responses, a lot of really great inputs. Now remember that this is a living video here, and I haven't completely made my mind up. I was hoping to have all of the final decisions made in the last video. So if you have things in your life that have just been absolute go-to, that have a really good versatility, put them in the comments, because you could sway me. And if you change my mind, I'll give you honorable mention in that as well. So let's jump right into it. One of the most interesting tools that we're all familiar with, and usually life is not good when you have to resort to this, but is the Maddox. The Maddox. I remember as a kid spending a lot of time swinging one of these. This is actually a very fascinating tool. What it is it's a digging or a grubbing tool, and it has a really interesting history. There's actually been archaeologists that have found versions of this dating back to the Bronze Age. That's the Greeks. That they would use something like this, and we take these things for granted, and they lean against a garden shed wall, and we don't realize how many thousands and thousands of years of evolution have went into making this tool as efficient as possible. It really is incredible. A couple interesting things about them. So the Maddox is different in a lot of wood tool handles in that it doesn't have a fixed handle. And you'll see that if you strike it like this, it's designed to be taken apart so it's easy to pack, because it's kind of a big heavy thing, and not so much important nowadays where we can take tools and throw them in the back of a pickup. But if you were transporting this on horseback or a mule, or you were a miner, having the ability for this to break down into 2 pieces was something that was really handy, because this is an awkward shape. So the design, of course, is when you got to where you were going, you would give it a strike on a stump or a rock and seat the head. Now there's a couple different patterns with these Maddoxes. You'll see some that have a spike on them, like out here. Like out here west, these are really, really popular because this spike is really great for dealing with rocks. And that's why you see that it's the handle on it is so massive, it's so heavy, it's intended to be used as a prying tool. So this, when you're trying to dig trench for latrine or water line or whoever, grave digger, you can wedge this heavy hardened pick down into the ground and dislodge rocks. On the back we have a grubbing type of a hoe right there, so you can flip it over, and when you get into some soft dirt, you can actually move a lot of dirt. This is when this is the tool that takes the place when the shovel just can't get it done. A shovel works fine in looser stuff, but when you get hard compacted soil, a shovel just doesn't do you much good. Also, there's another variant of this. You'll often see these that have, well, they basically have a little axe blade on them, which are very similar to a Pulaski, but much heavier duty, more robust, a more durable tool. And you're going to find those tools predominantly in areas that have more woody stuff. Like if you're in like a lot of brushy woody stuff where you're digging through a lot of roots, that type of Maddox is actually much better. So before you buy one, kind of ascertain, what type of ground you're going to be in. Do you have a lot of rocks that you have to pick through? A nice spike like this would be the better choice. If you have a lot of roots and that sort of thing, well, maybe the axe one would be a little bit better. But also, back in the day, I don't know if this is still true, the East Coast guys would usually put a bolt or a screw through here, because there is some danger with a Maddox, and it's the old timers would tell you, never operate a Maddox higher, don't let the head come higher than your hands. And the reason is that this thing will work loose, and if you lift this up like a splitting maul, this thing will slide down before you can set, and it'll really hurt your hands and smash your hands. So the rule of thumb when you would teach an apprentice when you're using a Maddox like this or a friction fit tool is to never allow it, never let it go higher than your hands. So anyway, the East Coast guys would typically put a screw through there to protect him. West Coast, that was never done. So just kind of another one of those interesting regional things. But a good quality Maddox is a must-have. And remember, I'm going through and I'll put links to my choices on these, the Amazon affiliate links in the subject heading, and I've done a lot of research on these, what I think is a really good value. So if you find yourself, you've got a few deficits or some holes in your tools setup, you can go there and it'll give you a place to start. All right, next, number 2. Boy, that went on. I could do a whole video on Maddox. Maddox, a good rope. This is something that is probably overlooked by most guys that I come in contact with. Very few people have. I'm talking about a good one. I'm not talking about a crummy Home Depot one. What you want for a rope is you want a good nylon braided rope that's a static rope, meaning it doesn't have any stretch to it. Don't buy a climbing rope. Climbing ropes are wonderful ropes, but they're intended to really stretch, so when a rock climber falls, that it's not shocking or jarring you. Where a rappelling rope or a working rope, a big heavy bull rope like this one here, is going to be static, meaning that there's no stretch going to be in it. You don't want the stretch. There's applications for that, but just for a general purpose, all around, you don't want it. The length that you want, much as I hate to say it, 50 meters. You want a 50-meter rope, which comes out to roughly, what, 150, 160 feet. It's a standard length for ropes, and it gives you the ability to do so much. 150, 160 feet is a long ways. So what do you need a rope for? Well, let's say you have livestock. What happens if you get, or an animal or something that's stuck out in a bog or in the mud, or for rescuing something? And even if you double and triple these up, in a pinch, they can be used for vehicle recovery. I mean, it's not recommended all the time, but for all the bazillion things that I can't think of, if you need to take a tree down and you want to climb up there and put a rope on it just to be sure that it's not going to fall on your house or on a shed, we can't even go into it. I mean, the importance of having a good quality rope. This is what I have found to be the best value for buying quality rope is go to the arborist sites like Tree Stuff. Is it treestuff.com? I'll see if I can remember to put a link in there. This is a bull rope. That's just what they sell there for, is for pulling trees. The arborists use for pulling trees over. It's very long. It's very, very strong. It's very durable, and you're going to have that full length, that 50-meter length. And it's just you got to have it. It's not something you're going to use all the time, but when you need it, you need it. And it was important enough for me to include it as our 12th item out of 50. All right. 12, number 13, no doubt, a pipe wrench. And this size right here, what size is that? An 8-inch? Good grief, I don't even know the size. Does it say right there? Drop forged, it doesn't say. I was thinking, maybe it's, I don't know how big it is. Anyway, I'll put it in the description. Some of the best ones that I've used are made by a Rigid company, make really good professional grade ones, or they used to. This is a Husky brand, a Home Depot brand. And when I looked at them when I bought this years ago, they looked very similar. So I almost thought that maybe Rigid made the pipe wrenches for Huskies. This is a must-have tool, no question about it. I've got a couple of them. I rarely use more than one, but if I need to get something loose that's really tight, I've used this to take off so many trailer balls, and I've put 2 and 3 foot extension cheater bars on these things. I've never broke one before. They're really tough. They do get a little bit worn out. The teeth right here, it's really important that these teeth are sharp. And what you can take a little triangle file and you can clean those up there. But if you buy a good quality one, a Rigid or a Husky, or there's lots of them out there, this will last you a long time. But this is a must-have. This will, I've gotten oil filters off with them. I have any type of threaded pipe. You have to have them, a million different things. And this is kind of your go-to wrench when you run out of sizes. You know, when you run out of anything big enough, you find sometimes you got some enormous nut on something and you've got nothing to fit it. It's either this or a pair of channel locks, and it always comes down to this because this is just an incredible design that will do about everything. Way outside of it lives way outside of the plumbing world. So we got number 13, a good quality plumbing wrench, pipe wrench. All right, number 14, a pair of needle nose pliers. Needle nose pliers, just like these. These are the good ones. Again, they're not something that I use a lot, but it's the only tool that saves the day sometimes. I've dropped things down in holes I was able to, to get it out with, or for doing fine work or small stuff, detail stuff, or getting into places where nothing else will work. This is about the only tool that will work. And they also, just as a side, I forgot to mention the other day, as a side of benefit, all of these tools like this, you want to make sure you look for one that's got a wire cutter on the side. It just gives you an extra capability. Like the channel locks that I spec'd out, those have cutters. Your regular pliers have cutters. And as I was looking around and looking at my toolbox, I really like the Channel Lock brand. And the reason being is that they're still made in the United States. They're really a good USA company, and they offer a good tool with a great warranty that is a wonderful price. Sometimes I just marvel at how cheap their multi-packs are, where you can buy like the channel locks and 5 or 6 different tools for really a reasonable price. And I'm just a big fan of the Channel Lock brand. I think that they give a tremendous value, and they're a good tool. And I've just got lots of them around here. I don't ever remember breaking one. But a good set of needle nose pliers, just like this. That's going to make, what we got, number 14. All right, what we got here? All right, so hacksaw, number 15. You're going to want a hacksaw. What a hacksaw is, if you don't know, is it's a metal cutting blade. It's a way for you to be able to cut. You could cut through any sort of metal as long as the throat's not deeper than the throat right there. It may take a long time, but you can cut cable. You could cut non-ferrous, you can cut ferrous, you can cut just about everything, and make sure you get a good quality blade. Now, if you buy a discount hacksaw, they're going to usually come with a pack of a whole bunch of different blades, and they'll be all different colors. Those blades are usually not very good. So put those blades in your toolbox for emergency use, but get yourself some really good quality ones like a Lennox or something. If it's expensive, it's going to be good. I mean, when you go to the hardware store and one blade is $7 and one blade is $3 for $2, there's usually a purpose to that. So look for a good USA or German or Swiss built blade. Get a couple of them, get 3 or 4 of them, throw them in the kit. It's probably, for most guys, it's going to last you a long time. This is going to be the tool when you've got to cut metal around your house. How are you going to do it? It's not easy to do. If you don't have torches and you don't have a bunch of power tools and stuff, you can cut everything you need. You can cut bolts with this. If you are trying to fix something and you got a bolt and it's too long, you can take and put it in your vise and you can cut it out, or cut a piece of cable, or a million different things. So you want a hacksaw, not used all the time, but as an essential tool. And that's why it's going to be number 15. Number 15 is the hacksaw. So can I have 30 seconds of your time to shamelessly promote our Christmas special? We have a Christmas special for you guys. Is our book, Modern Homesteading, Rediscovering the American Dream. Mrs. W and I co-wrote this recently, and it tells our story for moving out of the city, and our journey and our failures and successes, and what it took for us to get here. So what we're offering is we have a package for 2 books. You get 2 books, free shipping, and you get the 2018 brand new, all new calendar, the Wrangler Star calendar, with lots of nice pictures. So pictures that we took from the family. There's pictures. We've brought back the map of our homestead, and we've got each month you can enjoy all of the wonderful homesteading pictures. This is Mrs. W on the riding lawnmower. So you get the calendar. And there was some complaints that the calendar last year didn't have a hole in it for hanging it up. So we apologize for that. We've made those corrections. This year's calendar will have a hole in it. So I gotta wrap this up. So 2 books and the official 2018 Wrangler Star calendar for $32. Free shipping. So we're going to cover all the shipping for you. So if you're looking for a good gift idea for family or friends, you can get 2 books in the calendar, free shipping, $32. I'll put the link down in the subject heading for that. So thanks. Let's get back to the video. All right. Tape measure. Of course, a tape measure. Boy, there's back for years and years and years, the only player in the game was Stanley. Stanley has made tape measures for a long, long time. Now everyone's making them. I've been using some tape measures from Milwaukee, and DeWalt's got their own tape measures all coming out right now. I like the Stanleys. This is my favorite tape measure. It's funny, I don't know if I'm just so brand specific, or there's that tradition that I grew up using them that I am just kind of a homer for Stanley tape measures. I don't think so, because I can use any tape measure I want. I've got a dozen of them around here, and sometimes I'll even go seek this one out. Like even if I have to walk further to go get a tape measure, if I'm going to be using it all day, I'll go for this one. I love this 25-foot FastMax, the FatMax tape. It's super durable. I'd recommend the 25s over the 30s. Well, not so much anymore. Back years ago, they used to cram a 30-foot tape inside a 25-foot housing, and so you'd get that extra few feet, 5 feet, but it came at a cost as not wanting to go back in as well. I think they don't do that anymore. I think maybe the 25 and the 30 have different size housings, but check that out when you're buying one. If you're looking at them and they both look like the same case and one's 25 and one's 30, just go with the 25. You don't need more than 25. If you have to measure over that, you can, just pull it out and measure twice, but the 25 FatMax in the Stanley is a great tape. I've dropped this off of scaffolding. I've dropped it off of ladders. I've had this a long, long time. It is my favorite. And when this one dies, this is exactly one that I'll buy again. I really like them. They're really good. All right, what we got next here? What was that? 17, 18? Doesn't matter. All right, so there's going to be a few power tools you're going to have, without a doubt. Probably one of the greatest inventions in the last, 40 years, 30 years, how long has it been, is the cordless drill. And they're getting good now. I mean, there's so much competition from all the major manufacturers that it just seems like every year they just get better and better and better. Longer battery life, smaller in size, more power. You can't hardly get by without a cordless drill. I'm going to spec out mostly corded tools on this video series. I believe this is probably one of the only cordless tools I'm going to recommend, because the problem with the cordless tools is that they're throwaway. They're not they're just not going to last you. I would say for really light use, maybe 10 years. That's pushing it for the batteries. I'd say probably closer to 5 or 6. And then the batteries are just so expensive and the technology moves on that it's cheaper to buy a new one. So these are kind of disposable, but they're just indispensable. They're absolutely indispensable. It's probably, of all of these 50 tools, it would be on my top 10, probably in my top 5, if I was to be honest with you. But what brand? You choose. I have tested quite a few of these, some of the lower end ones. The one that's been the best so far has been the Milwaukee. And I really like the Makita. I've been reluctant to test the Milwaukee with the Makita because I'm afraid that it's going to burn up my Makita that I really really like. I probably should just do it for science, right? Just for you guys. But lots of good ones. Of course, the higher end DeWalt's are nice, but if you're gonna pay $100, $150 for a good drill, make sure you get two batteries and the drill bit kit. But a cordless drill is essential. It'd be nice to have the cordless drill and the impact wrench, but we can't have both because we just don't have room in our kit. So if I have to make a choice, I'm going to choose the cordless drill, even though I use the impact drill more, or impact wrench more. But the impact wrench, I can't really drill holes very well and chuck things up and mix paint. And this is more versatile. So a cordless, a good quality, lithium, brushless, cordless drill. That's what you want. All right. What do we have next? Boy, we're getting down there. 2 more. Number 19, pair of tin snips. Tin snips, and you want the yellow handled ones, or this is the Wisp brand. I mentioned in a previous video that I really like the Wisp brand. I think that they were the pro ones back in the day. I don't think they are anymore. I think they're kind of more homeowner grade. But I'm not a sheet metal guy. I'm not a tin knocker. So I don't need the latest, greatest, and these have always served me well. I've had several pair of them. And what are these going to be good for? These are going to be cut anytime you need to cut sheet metal. Like that, you're able to do it with that. I mean, they really work amazing if you haven't used them before. You can cut through thin gauge sheet metal just like a pair of scissors in thick paper. Now, they really are amazing, and you'll find yourself use them for cutting banding. You get something delivered that's got a bunch of metal banding around it. That's not an easy thing to deal with if you don't have something to cut it with. You know, if you don't have a grinder and you don't have a pair of tin snips or way to cut that, I mean, you're kind of up a creek. Steel is hard. It takes very specialized tools to deal with it. So you have a couple different things here. You know, you could get through it with your hacksaw, but of course the better tool is going to be the tin snips. Now they're going to come in different configurations and they have different colored handles. There's a red one and then there's a green one. There's probably more than that. And those are right-hand and left-handed ones. The yellow-handled one is just the straight. It's not made for cutting around a circle or a right hand or a left hand. Those other ones are more specific. So just as we can't have all of them, you know, we have to limit this at 50. If you're just going to have one, you want the yellow-handled ones. This is the one to go with. But a pair of tin snips is going to be essential. And to round up number 20 of 50, what do we have in here? I might have to bring you up closer for this one because they're kind of small, but I'll do that. Let me just talk about it a little bit. A set of center punches. Center punches, this is a must-have, and we can't just have one. They kind of come in a set, so you need a set. So what I found to be about one of the most useful is one about maybe a 10-inch long or so with a taper on it and a point. So that's the one I seem to use more than any other ones. And then I'll have a couple different sizes. You want to kind of size them down, and you've got your tapered, and then you've got your straight punches. So these are kind of my go-to. Those are actually the same size. This one here is a center punch. So the difference is you'll see that the tips on these, so some of these have a point on them. So if you need to knock something over or bend a tab over, if you need to bite into metal or you need to mark metal, mark a hole for a drill press or drilling, then that's what that center punch is for. It's got that point on it. If you're just using it for drifting, for pushing pins out or knocking things out of holes and all that, then a flat one is what you want. Now see how these have a taper on them? You want a handful of them, let's say 3. I could probably get by with these 3 right here would be a good size right there with a taper. And then we're gonna have our center punches, a set, which are flat or the same all the way through. I'm sorry, I don't know all the nomenclature here. And about 3 of those as well, down to a little one. So if you need to push a little roll pin out of something, if you need to drift who knows what, a million different things that you just have to have them, or even trying to line things up. One thing's when you have like two holes that you're trying to line up and you can't quite get it right. One of these guys, especially this long one, and you can drive it in there, and as you drive it in, it gets it closer and closer, you know, to the opposite side, and then you can usually get a bolt going in there. But can't go into every reason why you're going to want these or need them, but you definitely want them. So I'll put together a little set, but if you could get 6 of them, if you could just get a little tiny one, small one for like a little roll pins, think of little roll pins and keepers and such, a medium and a larger one, and then a corresponding set with the tapered ones, and also you want one that's got a point on it, at least one for marking. And then a larger, longer one like this is one that is really a go-to punch right there. So that's kind of a nice little center punch set.